the best way we could do it is look at it through what Ryan just said, this temporal span of time. We are in another span of time where we have to adjust and adapt and stay current, stay open-minded, stay calm, right? It's a time as a consultant and for clients that come to us for help, it'll pass too, right? And as long as we can do what's right, we can
do what's worked too. Just
do what's
got
worked.
These processes.
It's not a pandemic, but we saw it when we were in the pandemic. We had to change the way we thought about the way we did our work. We had to adjust and shift, and this is no different. We are concerned with the direction of some of the regulation because we know what that might do to the environmental impact. But at the same time, there's courts and there's legislations, and I love Chelsea's optimistic view that our clients, that our communities, that our government, state governments want to do the right thing.
Yes, they're inherently good. Yeah. It's a good place to start.
And so therefore, just kind of continuing to do what we do best, which is get out in front of issues, get out in front of challenges, strategize, look at it from multiple different points of view and come with a reasonable step forward is exactly what we have to do as consultants.
Great.
If I'm talking to our clients right now, or the clients that I work with on a chemistry side, on a contamination side, we've had 50 years of science. We might roll back 1 or 2 or 3, but that's it. It's there. The game isn't going to change for our clients, at least the clients I work with. It's not going to be any different. Yes, we're worried about a grant. We're worried about funding. I think funding is the biggest thing that really everyone's stressed about is the tax credit going to go away? Can I get insurance for my tax credit? Is my next buyer going to take my tax credit? All of that is true, but I think, and I'm seeing a lot of clients, more clients than not, are still bullish on where we're going, still bullish on the renewables sector, still bullish on contamination sector.
And our contacts in environmental insurance are bullish too.
Contaminated properties for the benefit of the IRA, which I mentioned much earlier, will certainly last through 2028, 2029, regardless of what we can do. The courts can't allow it. Congress funded it.
That's right.
So there's not as much can roll back, but the pause, and I'll use the word pause optimistically, the pause is not the same as the gone.
Right.
So I think we're in a pause stage. We're in a let's level set a little bit. Let's let our clients understand this is a bit of a level set. I've been in the business a long time. This has happened before. I mean, not maybe our industry, but in certainly other industries have had to pivot, had to change, had to modify. So I'm feeling about the money. If the money's going to be there, and it's going to be, we've had more international clients, we've had more international investment in this country, over renewables, over energy, soon to be over water.
Right.
I mean, we know where this is all heading. This is water, this is energy. I'm telling our clients, move forward. We've got you covered. We're a little anxious about this. Will it slow you down? Will it make it faster? My oil guys, they looking at me, say, Dirk, until that's $120 a barrel, I ain't drilling.
That's right.
So drill, baby, drill, if it's 120 a
Sure.
barrel. And that's not happening. That's not happening at all. So we'll stop building EV stations. So that's kind of that's a quick slowdown for a little bit of a while, but that'll come back. So I'm telling our clients, and I think our clients for the most part are right on board. Business as usual, keep rolling. I mean, Clean Water Act, Superfund, we're all talking 70s and 1980s. No one said CERCLA is over. You can't. There's things you can't do. We can step back, and again, the oil guys aren't sweating it. The oil guys, half of them own more solar than the solar guys own. So
they're energy companies at the heart of it.
Yes, they're energy companies.
And with a clean focus.
Yes.
This is about culture, and there's a different culture from when I was 15 years old cleaning the lawnmower with trichloroethylene, washing my hands with it, that my kids don't even know what trichloroethylene is. So we've seen a big culture shift on environment anyway. Our clients are there. Our project managers with our clients, our executive directors of our clients are far more environmentally focused and aware than they've ever been.
Environmental initiatives are baked in at the financing level too. We talked about that a bit earlier as well. We've got this macro economy that's driving ESG principles, so we're not going to see a full scale back, at least
No.
in my opinion, we're not going to see that happen.
I think recommendation or advice is that if the current regulatory climate, both at the federal, state, local, brings uncertainty to your project, because that's ultimately, at least on the private equity side, where what drives a lot of the decision making is risk. Lean on your subject matter experts.
Mm-hmm.
If those are internal, if those are external from a consultant, I think maybe a sign of a good consultant, or maybe a better consultant moving forward, is going to be one that is getting ahead of the issues, right? Leaning on the relationships with regulators, relaying that information timely, making announcements ahead of the next,
But
EO that comes
Proactive
out, right?
communication
Absolutely.
on policy and
That's
science
going to be the
right
only
now.
way to bring any predictability to what we've seen over the last 60 days, if that trend kind of continues with just the changing regulatory framework. So I think relationships now more than ever, and subject matter experts, and I think we will continue to see that shift of the administrative production capabilities of these regulatory entities. What we used to assume the Army Corps of Engineers was going to process for an approved jurisdictional determination, or the EPA for a municipal discharge permit, that effort is going to be shifted to the project proponent. Have that be a municipality to prepare and submit, or a private entity. And so having those resources internal, or having trusted consultants externally to support you in that, I think is going to be more important than ever moving forward. So.
Well, and to build off Ryan's point, planning is going to be really, really key here. So the communication, the upfront planning, the coming up with a strategy ahead of time on how you're going to be able to pivot through this environment is going to be really, really important. A note on the funding, I agree with you that it's a pause. Unless they get rid of the power of the purse in Congress, a lot of this money has already been approved. It's still there. There's likely going to be language changes, and changing the language to be less in the administration's eyes DEI focused, although really it's all about equity and environmental equity, and equity is for everybody. So there might be some language shifts that we're going to see, but it'll come back around. And I think we will likely see more funding in some of these areas, like the rural environment. We might see some more money going to entities like the NRCS, some of these agencies that have kind of come out unscathed thus far with executive orders and presidential memorandums.
Yeah, that's
And so the money's going to be there. It's just the clients might have to pivot to which agency they're looking at for the funding. It might just come out a little bit differently, using a little bit different language.
It'll seem familiar though once you get into it. Yes.
With the evolution of what we're seeing today, I think, as a consultant, as somebody who runs an environmental consulting firm, I think it's just an evolution of what it means to be a consultant that is evolving with it. And it's not just a bunch of people who know how to do a wetland delineation or do a bat survey. It's going to be a more holistic approach.
Not working in a vacuum.
Yeah, we're gonna, we've already started, but it's coming to terms with a more holistic approach to consulting. Meaning, before we might not have thought about hiring environmental attorneys or community engagement individuals or planners, like real, upfront planners and strategists. You will find the consulting firms that really get it will start to hire those lobbyists and policy people and get involved, not just in giving our clients advice, but get involved in making sure that the environmental regulation and policy that needs to be in place for our clients and for us just as humans, you'll see, I think, us take a more active role in that.
More influence.
I would like to take a more active role and influence those areas. So for me, I think there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work for us to do. There's a lot of work, but there's a lot of work for us to do. There's a lot of work for our clients to do. There's a lot of work for state governments to do and local agencies and nonprofits. Just keep fighting the good fight.
Yes.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Okay, As we're looking ahead to the next 60 days, how can we help our clients navigate what we can predict as upcoming changes or uncertainties? What's the advice we can give to our clients?
Let's all look at Ryan.
I think
Ryan?
Come on, Ryan.
I think the best advice I can give is look at your project development timelines, and you can assess risk based on that, right? So if you're looking at a early greenfield development project with a 2030 COD date, there's probably not a lot of changes that could happen over the next 60 days that would affect a project of that that timeline and that magnitude. You're going to be able to weather the storm, right, and come out the other side. So that might be a business as usual case. However, if you're going to construction next month, the next 60 days could be pretty critical to influence how you do that. So I think having a trusted partner with those regulatory relationships that can make those connections and try to get early lead items on what may be happening over the next 60 days and how to carry your project forward, I think that's going to be more important than ever. So it's a proactive approach to assessing and mitigating risk, maybe now more than ever. I know that's a little ambiguous because that's always the name of the game for consultants.
It depends.
It depends.
Hurry up and wait.
But I think you can take a case study from the last 60 days and carry that forward and make some predictions. So we've already seen just in the last few days that this kind of appetite or intention to kind of deregulate, that's already trickling down to state and municipal entities, right? We've seen that just in the last few days. And so I think that trend could be something you can carry forward in the next 60 is maybe not look at what is the next jaw-dropping thing that the feds could do, but what's something that your state could be putting forward or your local community, either municipal or county level that you want to try to predict and get ahead of. So that could be a good way to de-risk a project.
Great thoughts.
I would suggest to you that the vast majority of projects that are already in play will continue to be in play. I think statistics from just last week's conference again suggested that the renewable industry is solid well into 2026 with what's already banked, what's already booked, what's already started construction. Very little is going to change and impact that. The uncertainty on the funding or financial side, I think, is really going to be the biggest hiccup. But quite honestly, politically speaking, having been through many decades of different presidencies and different administrations, this is a bit of a more shock and awe than we've ever experienced. But the reality is he's got a plan for his first 100 days, and things are going to settle down. Things are going to quiet down. The courts have done it for him. They have settled many, many things down, from staffing to funding to finance to rules. The courts will continue to do that. The Supreme Court helps him, hurts him, depends on the pace. So I really am quite confident for our clients that we're not going to see much of a hiccup. On a startup project, they're going to pause. What's going to happen to that client that just came here and said, I want to start a new project, I don't have my first permit, I don't even know what land I want to assemble? They're going to be in a pause. But I think the vast majority are just going to continue moving forward. Love to see the transmission line infrastructure. That's going to happen. So our clients who are in the infrastructure component, the transmission line, power lines, natural gas or whatever, electrical power lines above ground, below ground, that's happening. That's going to happen fast. I think that's the push. So I'm pretty optimistic that, and then from a chemistry perspective, I mentioned that earlier. I mean, we've seen that change all the time. We'll just change and pivot with it.
I think it's very important that you just mentioned that to remember that executive orders are not set in stone bills.
Right.
So clients should be paying attention to what Congress does next and what comes out in terms of bills and policies. That's where the rubber meets the road, not in these executive orders and this posturing that is happening throughout this first 100 days. It is a shock and awe campaign, and it's working. And we've had a lot of people riled up over it. What really matters is what comes after that first 100 days.
Yep. With $80 billion in investment and 80% going to Republican hometowns
That's right.
and Republican states and the blue and the reds.
Yeah.
I think Congress will step up, Senate will step up, and they'll realize that the first 100 days is up. Now we got to go for the next 1,000 days.
That's right.
Yeah, it's still a very developer-friendly market out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think those trends are going to continue, right? And I think you're going to see not just private equity being driven by potential demands, right? We talked about some of those earlier, like data centers and cryptocurrency, but you're going to see things like PUCs being driven by public demand to provide, they have a legal necessity to provide to their users. You're going to continue to see that, and municipalities as well. So I think it's, even with the uncertainty that's happened over the last 60 and may continue into the next 60, it's still a very developer-friendly market. I think that trend has a mass and a
Staying power.
it's got gravity of its own.
Yeah.
That is going to be hard to quelch.
My suggestion, or what are we doing? Not suggestions.
Outlooks?
Outlook.
60-day
Yeah,
outlook?
60-day outlook.
Is really to stay patient. Like, be patient. Keep doing what you're doing. One of the things that I would say to some of my clients is, if your consultants are coming in to talk about, the current situation, the projects, the direction you want to take those opportunities to really sit down with your partners and have conversations about strategy, right? Sometimes we just get so in to the everyday, this is the next task, that if we don't take the time to stop, have real conversations about what we're worried about, what the challenges are, there's probably a permit sitting somewhere that maybe the client's not thinking about, but your consultant is. And if we don't take the time to really kind of dive in and have real conversations, I think that's where we lose some momentum. If we don't want to lose momentum, spend the time with your partners, spend the time with your consultants, and have bigger conversations than just that one project that you might be working on. So for me, 60 days, that's what I'd be focused on.
Strategery.
Yep.
No, that's great. I think it's the pinball effect.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the reactive versus proactive
Yes.
approach can penalize you somewhat, right? So yeah, I think that's great advice. Try to be able to sit down, have some predictability,
Yep.
some vision from a programmatic standpoint. And
Put
not
out
just
priorities.
project-specific.
Make a priority
Triage.
list, right? Like, make
Absolutely.
a priority. These are the 5 projects that we know we can get done within this current framework. Let's focus on those. I mean, it's that kind of pre-planning that will stop you from being panicked, right?
You're not alone.
You're not.
No.
You're not.
Well, and sometimes
We
the
hear
pause
this.
is an okay thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, take a deep breath, take a pause, reevaluate. It's not always a bad thing.
Yep.
That's the advice when you're operating in a crisis as well.
Yeah, very
Pause.
true.
But yeah, we are hearing these sentiments echoed from several of our clients, and that is our general advice. Just do what's worked in the past. Document what you're doing, keep it at industry standard. I think that'll get us through these next 60 days. So I want to thank each of you for participating today in this conversation on energy and the environment. I've enjoyed it, so
Thank you.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.